أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح للأمة فكشف الله تعالى به الغمة وجاهد في الله حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين من ربه اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد الرحمة المهداة وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وعلى أصحابه وعلى من تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. We pray to Allah Azza wa Jal on this blessed day of Friday to relieve our brothers and sisters in the East and West who are facing afflictions and hardships. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to be with our brothers and sisters in Palestine, in Jenin and in Nablus. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to free Palestine from the hands of oppression and to remove the Israeli apartheid and do away with the difficulties and hardships, and to be with our brothers and sisters in Syria and in Turkey and in Iraq and in Burma and in Kashmir and in Yemen and in Egypt and in all other locations and places in which our brothers and sisters are facing difficulties and hardships. Allahumma ameen. Allahumma ameen. Amma ba'd. Brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed us in a way that throughout our journey through this dunya, we have a trajectory to grow, a growth curve, a pathway to learn and to gain knowledge, and that is through experience. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made for all of us greater objective, a sense of ihsan, human perfection, becoming the greatest versions of ourselves. None of us are born like that. None of us can learn that from books. We have to grow through the experiences of life and make many mistakes, many times over. The path to hikmah, the path to ihsan, is not one that's very glamorous or easy. The path to growth for us as individuals, with challenges. And this is from the hikmah of Allah Azza wa Jal through the creation of human beings. No one has everything figured out. They can't. Because until I actually experience it as a human being, I don't know how to deal with it. I might have an idea or a theory, but ليس الخبر كالعيان, as they teach us. Hearing of something is not like living it. It's not like seeing it with your own eyes. And this is something that we learn through one of the surahs of the Quran. You could call it the surah of Ihsan. This surah is Surah Luqman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning of it says, Alif Lam Mim, Tilka ayatul kitab al-hakim hudan wa rahmatan lil muhsinin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in the beginning of this Quran is a guidance for people of ihsan, or people who are seeking ihsan. You would think that people of ihsan and excellence would not need guidance. But the whole idea and notion here in this surah is that becoming this person of ihsan requires a realization of a whole lot of different things. One of the things that we learn in Surah Luqman is the recognition of many different experiences of life. Allah mentions sarra and darra. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions public and private. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the status of different things and different individuals. And He mentions things relating to behavior and things relating to perception. These are a whole lot of things Surah Luqman mentions. This 4-page surah of the Quran. Difficulties and what they do to our perceptions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا غَشِيَهُمْ مَوْجٌ كَالظُّلَلِ دَعَوُا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. When they experience something in life, speaking here about waves that tower over them, مَوْجٌ كَالظُّلَلِ, waves that tower over them, meaning they experience certain life experiences in which they are hopeless and utterly helpless, and they realize that there's no path forward unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants them away. Unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants them away, they call upon Allah sincerely. The public and the private, mentioned in this surah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Luqman taught his son, يا بني إنها إن تكن مثقال حبة من خردل فتكن في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأتي بها الله. Oh my son, if it's a grain that's under a stone or within the heavens or the earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring it forward. Meaning Allah knows the public and the private. How will you deal in front of people, and how will you deal when there's no one looking? Right? And then it also teaches us a sense of priority. Hikmah is mentioned as a gift that Luqman was given. And this gift somehow gave him a realization that not everything is the same in life. Hikmah means tawdhiful ilm. Hikmah means applied knowledge. It's one thing to have concepts, values, and ideas. It's another thing to know how to and learn how to live by them. Wisdom is to have a discerning eye to note that the status of things varies. The status of different things varies. That's why Luqman, the first thing he realizes, maqam al-Rabb tabaraka wa ta'ala, Allah's status. And then maqam al-walidain. And then he says, well, the verses after that mentioned. After he says, Ya bunayya la tushrik billahi inna ash-shirka la dhulmun. He said to the next advice was, وَصَيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ. Allah gave the advice. وَصَيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ. Recognize the status of things. Don't be that person who chooses to live his life not realizing that not all people in my life are the same. Not all times are the same. Not all places are the same. No. He says, we've advised the people, we've advised the human being to be excellent to his parents. And then he gives the reason why. And then comes the third level of priorities, and that is your duty to society, to others. يا بني أقم الصلاة وأمر بالمعروف وانهى عن المنكر. Oh my son, make sure that you realize that you have a duty to make society better. Now, where are we going with this? This khutbah is not really meant to be about Surah Luqman or about ihsan or about hikmah. But these concepts and ideas, excellence, striving to become the perfect version of or the best version of myself. And also alongside that, striving to become a person of wisdom, meaning not only knowing what's right, knowing how to live by it. These meanings conjoin upon something that's front and center for every single one of us. Every single one of us has certain aspects that we deal with. My tongue, what it utters. My tongue and what it utters. My behaviors. My tongue and what it utters. My behaviors. My relationships. The way I choose to deal with others. Now, here's two scenes to reflect on. How those ideas and those concepts relate to us as individuals. The road to becoming a person of wisdom, as we said, is not glamorous. Let's look at two scenes from the best generation. When the Prophet ﷺ went to Medina, he united between two warring tribes, Aus and Khazraj. They could not stand each other. Before Islam, they had a war that raged on for a few decades. It's called Harb Bu'ath. And during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was a man from the Jews of Medina who saw the unity of the Aus and Khazraj, and you know what? It didn't make him very happy. Sometimes there's nufus like that. There's nufus, there's a lowly nafs that when it sees people prosperous or happy or united or together, it makes them uncomfortable, it makes them very bothered. This human being, Shas ibn Qais, he said the following: قد اجتمع ملأ بني قيلة يعني الأوس والأنصار الأوس والخزرج بهذه البلاد لا والله ما لنا معهم إذا اجتمع ملؤهم من قرار. We can't have them together. If they're together, that means it's going to be our downfall. We'll never experience any sense of qarar and istiqrar, and we'll never be able to settle down here. So what did he do? فأمر فتى شابا من يهود وكان معه فقال له اعمد إليهم فجس معهم فذكرهم يوم بعاث وما كان قبله وأنشدهم بعض ما كانوا تقاولوا فيه من الأشعار ففعل. This boy was inserted among these beautiful human beings. Again, because the idea here, where we started with this khutbah is, there's a growth curve, every one of us. Someone in themselves might be utterly beautiful, but that does not mean that there cannot come certain things that dissuade them away from the path of reason, that dissuade them away from goodness, without them realizing the power of words, the power of actions, the power of an attitude. The power of an attitude. These are things that we're going to bring back home to our families, our friendships, our interactions. That's what this khutbah is really about. That's what this khutbah is really about. Gaining wisdom through communication. Gaining wisdom through the interactions with the people that Allah put in my life. He began to say the poetry and the poems that they used to say, and he reminded them of their past days, and they began to quarrel and dispute. The hadith says, فَتَكَلَّمَ الْقَوْمُ عِنْدَ ذَلِكَ فَتَنَازَعُوا وَتَفَاخَرُوا حَتَّى تَوَاثَبَ رَجُلَانِ مِنَ الْحَيَّيْنِ عَلَى الرَّكْبِ فَتَقَاوَلَا. They began physically clashing. This is the best generation of individuals. Began physically clashing because of a toxic word that divided their hearts. That's how damaging words could be. And behaviors are the same. And so are attitudes. Here's another scene from the greatest generation. Aisha radiyallahu anha, المؤمنين رضي الله عنها وعن أبيها. the mother of the believers and the wife of our Prophet ﷺ in this dunya and the akhirah. Someone of impeccable status that we dearly love, said something that was so unbecoming. And through it, we as an ummah learn a lesson. She said, because of something she felt in her heart to the Prophet ﷺ, about Sayyida Safiya bint Huyay. حسبك من صفية أنها قصيرة. It is enough for you from Safiya that she's short. And is short something bad? Sometimes the mind can falsely convince people of or realities that are absolutely baseless. The shaitan is a leader in this regard. أنا خير منه خلقتني من نار وخلقته من طين. That's why they say أول من قاس قياسا فاسدا الشيطان. The first to draw a false analogy is Iblis. Because he said, I'm better than him. Why? Because you created me from fire and you created him from clay. And who on earth told Iblis that fire is better than clay? His mind convinced him of something that's baseless, So the Prophet ﷺ said to her, لَقَدْ قُلْتِ كَلِمَ لَوْ مُزِجَتْ بِمَاءِ الْبَحْرِ لَمَزَّجَتْهُ. You've said something. This is something so common. People are so easy and prone to say things that are 10 times worse. You've said something that if it was to mix with the water of the ocean, it would change its color. Wow. Allahu Akbar. We're learning about Mu'mineen, and we're learning about humanity, and we're learning about the path to wisdom, the path to hikmah. There's no way that any one of us can get it on the first go, unless we have isma, and isma's for the prophets. But for us, this is our journey. Everyone experiences things in life, but not everyone learns from those experiences. This is a reality, and of course, this needs to settle in all of our hearts. I ask, especially since it's a summer khutbah, and that we have so many young faces with us, make sure you take this to heart. The fathers, the mothers, you've lived for a long time, and you've experienced a lot. But for those in the beginning of the journey, those in their younger years, remember this. Everyone experiences a whole lot in life, but not everyone learns through those experiences. And the path to becoming the best version of myself is for me to become a student of my experiences. That's the path to wisdom. That's the path to ultimately gaining true knowledge. Brothers and sisters, when we're talking about this path, there is a part of my body that can engineer a whole lot of goodness or could cause a whole lot of ruin. This is a reality of life. Most of our difficulties are engineered by who? By others? No. Most of our difficulties are engineered by our own selves. People may put whatever obstacle in your way, just as they put in the way of the great ones of our past. But what engineers my life experience is my reaction to that. Most difficulties are engineered. Allah Azza wa Jal has given us a model to emerge from those difficulties to experiencing true happiness. There's a lot to say about this. The Prophet ﷺ, he said in a beautiful hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, he said, إن الرجل لا يتكلم بالكلمة من رضوان الله تعالى لا يلقي لها بالا فيرفعه الله بها درجات. The individual says something that he pays no regard to. Brothers, تقدموا إلى الأمام. You have brothers at the door. افسحوا يفسح الله لكم. If you see any space in front of you, please fill it in. تزاحموا تراحموا. Squeeze together. Don't space yourselves out so that everyone can find a space in the masjid. We have people outside. Brothers and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ, he says in this hadith, you might say something oblivious to its positive impact and Allah will raise you because of it many levels. And on the other end, you'll find the opposite is true. The person might say something that's so damaging and it'll bring them down, bring them very, very down, very low into hellfire. They say that dhulm, brothers and sisters. What's the essence of dhulm? We translate dhulm as oppression, transgression. It is for you to take the rights of another. But when they come to actually defining it, that's not how we define it. What true dhulm is اختلال الموازين. الظلم اختلال الموازين. الحكمة وضع الشيء في موضعه. Wisdom is to know how to give everything its proper status with a discerning eye. Not all things are the same. Dhulm is اختلال الموازين, is for things not to be clear, to be very obscure, to the scales and weight of things in your life, very obscured. That's how we define oppression. And that's why dhulm could be to the nafs, because it is an imbalance of scales in my life. When I think about that, and I think about what life could teach us and how to build wisdom, take a look at this ayah of the Quran. This ayah teaches us to look at things and realize all their different shades of coloring. ومن آياته خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف ألسنتكم وألوانكم ألسنتكم وألوانكم. It is of His miraculous signs that He created the heavens and the earth, and then you find a variance in your tongues and a variance in your skin coloring and your cultures and your backgrounds. And then He says after that, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِلْعَالِمِينَ. In that are signs for people of true knowledge, deep knowledge, people of wisdom and understanding, people who could realize how to manage different things. If we look at the Prophet ﷺ and his example, we find that the Prophet ﷺ was a master of the words he uttered and the actions he took. And that's what made him so profoundly impactful on those around him. When you look at the hadith that describes the Prophet, كَانَ لَا يَذُمُّ أَحَدًا وَلَا يَطْلُبُ عَوْرَتَهُ وَلَا يُعَيِّرُهُ وَلَا يَطْلُبُ عَوْرَتَهُ وَلَا يَتَكَلَّمُ إِلَّا فِي مَا رَجَعَ ثَوَابًا. The Prophet ﷺ, this is a lesson for, we're all in this boat, brothers and sisters. If ihsan is the ultimate goal, meaning human perfection, I'm striving to become the best version of myself, and I realize for me to gain wisdom, I need to experience life, I need to understand things, and I need to know how to live by them. I need to grow with every passing day. If I realize this and I understand that, and I see the end goal, then I could realize that, you know what? I need to reflect on my words. I need to reflect on my actions. I need to consider how impactful they are on me and on others. Right? Look, the Prophet ﷺ was not one who would seek to put down others, to impose himself on others, even though he's Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was not someone who was imposing. He was not someone who would put down others. He was not someone who sought their flaws. And he would only speak about things that are of goodness, that are constructive, that will lead to positive ends. And if we think about this, we really need to reflect on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which he says, وَالْكَلِمَةُ الطَّيِّبَةُ صَدَقَةٌ. A pleasant word is a charity. When you think of charity, you think of something you're giving for others, right? I want to donate some money. I'm going to go put it in the donation box and it'll help someone in need. That's a charity. But let's think of this. A pleasant word is a charity. Is that a charity for myself or is it a charity for others? It's actually both. صدقة مني على نفسي وصدقة مني على غيري. That's how impactful a pleasant word is. Why? Why? Because of the positive energy it brings. How will it then affect the others and how will it affect me? Even though if you go to experts today, again, look, these, the path to really experiencing this sense of human wholeness goes back to these fundamentals. Go to the specialists. Learn and experience and go to people who do therapy and people who do counseling. They'll tell you, you know what, you want to become a positive person, learn how to speak positively. You want to have a different outlook on life, then be very mindful of how you speak about things. If you're always emotionally charged and always looking with a negative eye, and my life is like this because of this and this and that, and I don't like this person because they did this and they said that, and I'm just like full of mashhoon. I'm full of this toxic energy within me. And guess what? I'm not going to be happy. No matter how much counseling I get and how much advice I get, if I'm someone who's always in this state of mind, that's why kalimat al-tayyiba sadaqa. You know, negativity. The first victim of negativity is the person who chooses to be negative. Before it damages anyone else, it ruins me. That's why, again, these are fundamentals. When you go back to what our deen teaches about communication, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he tells us in the hadith about salam. إذا دخل الرجل بيته فذكر الله تعالى عند دخوله وعند طعامه قال الشيطان لا مبيت لكم ولا عشاء. It's a basic hadith. Sometimes people would read it. They don't really understand it. They'll move on. What does that mean? When you enter your home and you say salam and you remember Allah, when you enter and you remember Allah when you eat your food, the shaitan's going to say, we have no place here and we have no food to consume. Okay, what does that mean? I don't know, but I'll say salam and I'll move on. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam. Move on with your life. What's next? But there's a, look how the Quran describes it. فَإِذَا دَخَلْتُمْ بُيُوتًا فَسَلِّمُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ تَحِيَّةً مِّنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ مُبَارَكَةً طَيِّبًا. Why these descriptions? Why give such value to something that's become so mundane, so fleeting in our lives? What is this? What is this about salam that Allah is giving significance when you enter homes? Send salam to yourselves. A greeting that's from Allah, that's so blessed, mubarakah, and so pleasant. So blessed and so pleasant. My deen is teaching me a mindset here. Start from the positive. Be a person who brings profound positivity to the table. Wallahi, it'll do away with most of your problems. If I'm meant to grow through my experiences, maybe I need these fundamental fixes to the way I look at things, the way I talk about things, and the way I deal with people. My father's like this, and my mother's like that, and my children are like this. Oh, I don't like my siblings because of this, and that. Oh, مش عارف إيه. Did you ever try, maybe perhaps, trying to infuse a great deal of positivity into the relationship? You know what? I'm not going to allow myself to come down and be brought down into the abyss of negativity. I'm going to be a profoundly positive person. See how many problems it erases from your life. Wallahi, it'll do away with so many problems. Brothers and sisters, when we talk about this sense of recognition of hikmah, wisdom, and dhulm, اختلال الموازين, an imbalance in scales in a person's life, it is critical that we begin to master these aspects that have a far-reaching effect on our life experience. You know, if I really want to gain a different experience with my interactions in my life, maybe I need to elevate myself in what I talk about. Maybe I need to elevate myself in what I talk about. What do I mean? The Prophet ﷺ, he says in the hadith, ما من قوم يقومون عن مجلس لا يذكرون الله تعالى فيه إلا قاموا عن مثل جيفة حمار وكان لهم حسرة. Prophet ﷺ, he says that, you know, when people become invested in lowly conversations that'll do little to further them in their dunya or their akhirah, when people become invested in those types of relationships, those gatherings are like, and he gives a metaphorical example, like standing to run away from the smell of a carcass of a donkey that's rotting. And of course, this is such a far-off example for people living in the first world, people who've never seen a dead animal on the side of the road. Gee, what does a carcass of a donkey look like? I can't even imagine that. You know, but people who've seen the reality in impoverished areas where you see a dog or a cat or whatnot just lying on the side of the road for days on end and then inflating and then popping and then, I don't mean to get gruesome. But anyway, The Prophet ﷺ is giving us an image here. On the day of judgment, those gatherings are going to be a source of hasra. You know, لا خير في كثير من نجواهم. How many problems start in homes because of utter nonsense? How many problems start between friends because of utter nonsense, because of useless things? There's no goodness in much of their private conversations. إلا من أمر بصدقة أو معروف أو إصلاح بين الناس. Right, this is an attitude. If I want to really get a different experience, maybe I need to change the content of my conversations. There's a reason why the people of Jannah will not experience this nonsense, right? One of the forms of bliss in Jannah is what? لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا. That's it. No lies and no lahu. Wallahi, the damage that's caused just from these two words. Allahu Akbar, the Quran. Well, if you think about it, the Quran gives us a very, very simple model to emerging from the wretchedness of dunya to the sa'ada and the true happiness of dunya and akhirah. Lagwan wala kidhaba. How much damage have these two things caused on people and relationships and life experiences? Laghwan, nonsense. Nonsense that manifests in cutting off ties of kin, backbiting, gossip, slander. Nonsense that manifests in bad assumptions. And then add to it kidhaba. Let's add to it kidhaba. Lying that manifests in mistrust. Lying that manifests in division between people. And in many other things. Brothers and sisters, the Quran is beautiful. The model of our Prophet ﷺ is utterly beautiful. The path to Sa'ada just requires a will. A will for me to do what? A will for me to learn. Learn from what? Learn from my life experiences. Let me really survey what's going on in my life. Wallahi, if I become a student of my life experience, I'll be able to change a whole lot. Because you know what? As I said, I'm going to say this one more time. Most of the things that I end up feeling inside about my life are products of things within me, not products by what anyone else does. It's a reality. It's an attitude. It's a different attitude to have, because often what we convince ourselves of is deflecting. That's what the shaitan does. He fell into it. We're not going to fall into it. Deflecting. Oh, my life is like this because of fulan and fulan and fulan, and I'll never do this because of fulana and fulana and fulana. ومش عارف إيه. It's all about them. Everyone else around me is the problem, everyone but me. But you know what? Let me try to dig deep. Maybe if I do these things, maybe if I start talking in a different way, if I start looking at life in a different way, if I start trying to become more positive in my outlook on things, and you know what? Maybe if I become more emotionally balanced towards things, that's another thing that we learn from the Prophet ﷺ's character. Prophet wasn't someone who was exaggerated in his praise or exaggerated in his hatred of things. He was not someone who was exaggerated in his laughter, even something as basic as laughter. Prophet ﷺ says, لا تكثر الضحك إياك وكثرة الضحك فإنه يميت القلب. Don't be someone who's exaggerated in your emotions in any way, because that causes its own type of instability. Don't be someone who shows no regard for the status of things. No, if I really want to appreciate things in life, I need to appreciate the status of time, place, individuals. As Sayyidah Aisha said, radiyallahu anha, أمرنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أن ننزل الناس منازلهم. The Prophet ﷺ taught us this regard. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bless us to be students on the path of wisdom, students on the path toward ihsan, and to make us students of our life experiences and help us become better individuals through that. Allahumma ameen. Ud'u Allah wa antum muqinuna bil ijaba. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف الخلق وسيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. أما بعد, brothers and sisters, to sum it up, there's a profound lesson in Surah Luqman about the path I should seek in my life. I should seek ihsan because we are an ummah that's meant to be an ummah of ihsan. I should seek wisdom, and that's something beyond knowledge. It's about applying it and living by it. I should seek learning from life, and every single one of us, no matter how young or old, needs to learn from life. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who have the capacity and the will to do that. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make that a source of much goodness for us and for our families and for our friendships and for our community and for the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us sincere in that endeavor. اللهم آمين اللهم آمين اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وعافنا واعف عنا وتجاوز عن سيئاتنا اللهم اغفر لصغيرنا وكبيرنا وذكرنا وأنثانا وشاهدنا وغائبنا اللهم من أحييته منا فأحيه على الإيمان ومن أمته منا فأمته على الإسلام اللهم اجعل خير عمرنا آخرة واجعل خير عملنا خواتمة واجعل خير أيامنا يوما نلقاك فيه وأنت راض عنا اللهم فك الكرب عن إخواننا المستضعفين في جنين وفي نابلس وفي فلسطين وفي غزة وفي سائر بلاد المسلمين أنت أعلم بهم منا اللهم فك عنهم ضائقتهم ورد عنهم ظلم الظالمين وكيد الكائدين ومكر الماكرين وأصلح حال المسلمين والمسلمات في كل مكان يا رب العالمين آمين آمين وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
لا إله إلا الله. استقيموا يرحمكم الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Taqabbalallahu minna wa minkum salih al-a'mal. Brothers and sisters, as we said in the beginning, please don't forget your brothers and sisters in Palestine. And you all are probably aware of the recent updates in terms of the attacks against Jenin that left many martyrs and many injured, and then recently against Nablus as well. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to better our conditions. Allahumma ameen. We have a lot of programs happening in the masjid. Our summer programs are starting up. Please make sure you put your children in something that's constructive, something that will help them grow in this summer with the free time that they have. We have our summer schools. We have our youth program for the summer. You could ask more about it from the office.